a light blue tinge, or yellow, orange, or some of the common ones. We're trying to get our hands on them. Hopefully in 2 or 3 months we'll have some growing so we can show people that. It's really interesting to see. It's opened up and it's definitely not white. You can tell there's some color to it, but it's not real bold yet. They taste like grapefruit with sugar on them. So it's like drinking if you ever have like grapefruit juice or something, they pour sugar in there like crazy. It's kind of like that. You can see some of them are really big back there. Yeah. And you can actually find them in stores around here, but they definitely have a season. It's usually November, December, somewhere around there. Usually late in the year. Yes. So, depending on what kind of plant we're growing, you'll either have something like this. These go to trees and some of the pots basically, and it's this hose, it shoots out the end of the hose in a pretty concentrated area. We'll have about 2 or 3 of these pointed at each tree, and they get breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 20 minutes at a time. The other ones, like the row crops, so things like the cotton or sorghum over there, that plant that looks like corn, will have drip irrigation, which is basically a long hose that has holes punched into it. And that just runs along the side of the plant. And again, they get breakfast, lunch, and dinner, only it drips out along the whole row. And so when we go to harvest those, we basically pull the one up and it ends up pulling up all the other ones because it pulls up all the drip tape, and it's actually a big pain, but it works really well for those crops. The plants use quite a bit of it in here. The reason we keep it all under the sand is so that it doesn't evaporate. But these plants tend to be woody plants or something like that. A lot of the other plants we're either growing for production, and we can get a lot of fruit by growing it up in the air like that out of hydroponics, where it also grows faster. Or in the first greenhouse, it's all herbs. And herbs you can do a lot with. Herbs are a lot of the stuff they do experiments with on new ways of growing, because like you can grow herbs with the aeroponics. Not a whole lot of plants you can do that with, especially anything with citrus or a fruit tree. You can't really do aeroponics with. But, yeah, if you were going to do like fruit trees or something like this would work a lot better. Or you can actually have them in do the pots like we have the tomato tree in, or the eggplant tree or something like that. Pots would work well for those two. Aeroponics and hydroponics, or aeroponics and the aquaponics wouldn't work well for a tree. Or some of the other stuff, the roots just aren't exactly made to be in water or in air all the time.
I'm telling you, we just grow sorghum where the hookers round back.
So basically, the bigger the plant is, the more it needs something to put roots into. Wouldn't really grow that well.
Pipes you just hit your head on.
It's just kind of the flowers.
Talk some sense.
You'll see a white flower on one branch and a pink one right next to it. But really, they kind of all start off red, and then they open up, and the red goes away and turns.
I'm sweating between my breasts.
Hand pollination using either a card where we'll chop the pollen onto it, we'll cut off a male flower, bring it to a female flower, and drop the pollen onto it. We use leaf blowers if something is pollinated by wind. If something can self, which just means if you knock the pollen from the one flower onto the same part of the flower, then we just kind of shake the trellis like the tomato. Because if we get really lazy, we'll shake the whole trellis and the whole plant gets pollinated. If we're trying to do just a section, we'll basically tap individual branches with our hands. And then the cucumbers just do it itself. Like, we don't have to do anything with the cucumbers because they don't have seeds. So
I give them those little greenhouse things. Those are pretty neat.
Most of the stuff in the sand greenhouses we have to do by hand using things like paintbrushes, toothpicks, or the like take the male flower to the female flower type of thing, especially with the trellis system in the back. You can get them from seeds, and it's just a variety that doesn't produce seeds when it fruits, but mainly, well, that's how we start most of ours. Somehow they get a seed from it and grow it. I don't really know where the seed comes from at the beginning, but that or you can use cuttings. So it is a vining plant, so just cut off the fresher part. It'll be a fresher plant and you can start a new one. We'll head down here towards that trellis I was talking about. for wheat products, if you're allergic to gluten, they'll use that. And it doesn't have any gluten in it, so they can make bread and crackers and stuff out of it. So this cross here, we grow a couple interesting things from Asia. This is one of my favorites. It's called a winter melon. It's enormous. They're around 60, 70 pounds here is what we tend to grow them to. The largest one we grew was 90 pounds. Largest one in the world was 94. So we were just a little off, but if anyone's really good at guessing weight, they can try to tell me how much this thing weighs. I don't know for sure, but if anyone's really good, I would guess around 45. And it's almost as big as she is. So they weigh a ton.